Part 10. 80s, The Farmer's Wife is the Boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 92. Chapter 92, Wild Grapes, please vote for recommendation. Hians was told by his grandma when he came here. Boss Zhao is very smart. Don't be fooled. He is a person who has traveled far and wide, so he can't hear any kind words. That may disappoint Boss Zhao. The reason I came to the county this time is to bring you a message. I won't be able to go back for a while and have to go to work. Hians put down the teacup in the water and said with a smile. Yeah, why did I forget about this? You work in the transportation team. Are you on vacation? Well, I've finished my vacation. After chatting for a while, Hians made his purpose clear and left the hotel. But Boss Zhao immediately returned to the kitchen to discuss with his wife about going to Hejiakan. From Hian's tone, I'm afraid there won't be much food at home, only a few dozen kilograms. Even so, it was still worth a trip. You take Xiang with you this time and ask him to talk to Aunt He's house. He has grown up and it is impossible for us to intervene in everything. It can be seen that Aunt Jian is a person who can talk clearly. When Boss Zhao heard this, he also said, well, I understand, but we have to bring some gifts to people this time. You go and prepare it. Let your son come back in the evening, and we will go early tomorrow morning. Vegetables are no different than other vegetables. One load will age after a long time, which will affect the taste, and it will not be beautiful. Well, you go and call him and ask him to come back right now, Aunt Jian said with a smile. Okay, I'll go right away. You can keep an eye on the store. If you're tired, we'll close it for the day. Boss Zhao still felt very sorry for himself. Boss Zhao went straight to the post office to call his son. As soon as the call came through, he immediately asked him to come back. Qian Xiang was confused. Dad, what's wrong? He had to keep an eye on the store, so how could he leave? There is news from Aunt He. Didn't you tell me to tell you as soon as I have news? Do you want that dish? Boss Zhao said impatiently to his son Yumai. He was afraid that his wife would be tired in the store alone and had to rush back quickly. It's going to be busy soon. Ah, is that Aunt He who sells vegetables? Qian Xiang asked excitedly. It's not her. And he sent someone to bring a message, saying that there are two kinds of vegetables at home that are ready to be picked. They are not much, only a few dozen kilograms. She asked us if we want them. Boss Zhao told his son about the information he had obtained. Yes, of course I wanted a few dozen kilograms. May leave a lot of people behind. According to his father, that dish is the best among the best. Can you agree on the price? A businessman is a businessman. Not yet, but I suggest you be more practical and be a long-term partner, Boss Zhao suggested. He could see that the He family's daughter-in-law was not someone to be trifled with. To avoid being exposed later, it would be better to make it known earlier. But it seems that she doesn't know how good her vegetables are. Okay, I understand, Dad. Qian Xiang thought for a while and agreed with his dad's words. If it can really make your business go further, then the high price is nothing. The value is good. After hanging up the phone, Boss Zhao rushed back to the store. Mei Shui and Grandma He don't know what's going on with Boss Zhao. They are planning to go to the mountains to look for wild grapes. Grandma, don't people in this wild grape village eat anything? Mei Shui asked curiously as she walked. Of course I will eat it. If I encounter it, I will definitely take it home. You think everyone in the village is rich? Can you buy it and eat it? Grandma He said with a smile. Oh, okay, where are we going to pick it? Mei Shui was not familiar with things on the mountain. Let's go pick it from our own mountain. We have a lot of it on our mountain. There are few big trees, but there are a lot of these vines. Grandma He was very happy at this time. Suffering a loss is not necessarily bad. Sometimes, suffering a loss is a blessing. There are not many big trees on their mountain, but there are more wild fruits growing there than others, such as wild kiwi fruit, bagua fruit, etc., there are a lot of them. It's just that the season has passed. But there is one thing that is still available, and that is yogurt, a wild fruit from the author's hometown. It is very astringent when green and very sweet when red. Now it is used to make wine. The price is not low. I just don't know its scientific name. What, that thing is a bit astringent, but it can be regarded as an edible wild fruit. I'll look for it later and see if it's available. Grandma, he was thinking about the wild fruits on the mountain, while Mei Shui looked around. Soon they arrived at their own mountain. They had been there last time, and Mei Shui walked up the mountain step by step without having to meet her grandma to lead the way. However, she doesn't know what wild grapes look like. Who told her that there is no such thing in her world? Even if it is, it may not be edible. Xiaoxiu, please walk slowly. We don't have to go up the mountain. Let's walk around the edge of the mountain. There is a water source here. Generally, wild grapes grow not far from the water source. Grandma, he imparted her experience to Mei Shui. Meixiu was so obedient that she stopped in her tracks. Grandma, are you tired? Let's rest for a while and then look for her again. Seeing her grandma sweating profusely, Mei Shui immediately found a shaded place and stopped. Here, Grandma, drink some water. He took out the water from the basket and handed it to Grandma. Grandma, he didn't show any pretense, she took it and drank it. Xiaoxiu is still thoughtful. After resting for a while, Grandma, he also regained her composure and said, let's go down. There was no nap at noon, and Mei Shui was afraid that her grandma would be tired. After the two of them found several places with wild grapes, the baskets on their backs were almost full. Grandma, stop picking. Let's go home and come back tomorrow anyway. There are some on the mountain at home, so she can pick them at any time, and not only will her heart be picked. In addition, these wild grapes receive limited sunlight, so it will take some days before they are ripe. I picked these vines today and there are still a lot of fruits hanging on them. She didn't know if what she wanted could come true. After all, knowing the prescription and taking action were two different things. She knows a lot of recipes, but her hands-on ability is zero. She is not 100% sure that she can succeed. Are these enough? Look, there are more over there. It's okay if we pick some more. Grandma, he shook her head and said, Grandma is not tired yet. How could she be so precious? When Xiaoxiu didn't come, she did a lot more work than she does now. It wasn't called tired at that time, but now this little work is nothing. That's enough, the backpack can't hold it anymore. I'm familiar with the road now, so I'll do it again later. Mei Shui still didn't agree to take it off anymore. Grandma, he saw that her basket was only half full, so she didn't know what Xiaoxiu was thinking. Let's go back. Xiaoxiu felt sorry for her, and Grandma, he said warmly. Seeing her grandma smile sweetly made Mei Shui feel sweet in her heart. After returning home, Mei Shui began to ask her grandma if she had a jar that was sealed and airtight. She was going to give it a try. She tasted the wild grapes and found that they tasted pretty good. They were not particularly sweet or sour. If they were used to make wine, they might have the taste mentioned in the book. Sour, sweet, and delicious, with a rich wine aroma. End of this chapter. 80s, The Farmer's Wife is the Boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 93. Chapter 93, New Ideas. Wine is not very strong because it is a health-preserving wine that can be enjoyed by both the elderly and women. It is much better than plum wine. Do you want a jar for pickling? Grandma, he thought for a moment and said. That's definitely not possible. Mei Shui shook her head. No, Grandma, is there anyone selling jars in the village? If there wasn't one at home, she went to buy one. Why is this sold in the village? I have to go to the town to buy it, or buy it during the big market. The vegetable jars are used for pickling vegetables after they are bought, so there is no room left. The family is not very rich, so I bought it just for fun. Forget it, there are still 2 days before the big gathering, and we really can't wait for this. These wild grapes are all ripe. I'm afraid there will be mosquitoes tomorrow, let alone 2 or 3 days. If you want to use it, just ask An Cheng to send you to the town to buy it, Grandma, he said immediately after seeing Xiaoxiu feeling a little disappointed. Forget it, let's wait until the big gathering anyway, the wild grapes on the mountain won't be ripe for a while. Then you can figure it out yourself, Grandma. He was a little tired after climbing the mountain, so she sat on the bamboo mat and planned to take a rest. Mei Shui washed the grapes and then sat on the bamboo mat with her grandma. The two of them ate grapes and chatted. On the first day that Hians was not at home, Mei Shui slept with a sweet smell. Grandma he was also well served by Mei Shui, and she fell asleep after dinner early. The next day, Mei Shui and Grandma he got up early. Mei Shui made breakfast and went directly to the vegetable field after eating. The small tomatoes have also begun to bear fruit, but they are still small and green, with flowers on their tails, and they are still early to eat. But when she saw the fruit, Mei Shui was very happy, and the time before it could be sold was getting shorter and shorter. Even the loofah has bloomed, just waiting for it to bear fruit. The cycle of cucumbers is a little shorter than that of loofahs, and with the help of spiritual spring water, they also bear fruits. Small cucumbers are formed behind the flower bones. The green beans are a little later and haven't bloomed yet. Chinese cabbage has also grown a lot taller. This kind of autumn cabbage has the longest cycle. If you want to wait for it to mature, you have to wait until the end of the month. Grandma he told Mei Shui these experiences, but the vegetables she grew faster than others. Fortunately, the Lingquan water was not added too much, otherwise it would have been a bad ending. But this little bit is enough. Looking at the spiritual spring water she put in the water tank at home, Hian's health has been greatly improved. He rubbed a lot of mud off his body every night when he took a bath. Those are all toxins in the body, which are not good for the human body. Now that they are excreted, the most obvious manifestation is his skin, which was dark when he first came back. Now, the whole person is 2 degrees whiter. He followed Mei Shui in the mountains and rivers every day, and he never got tanned. It's just that he didn't discover it himself. Just as Mei Shui was tending her vegetables in the vegetable field, Grandma's voice came from below. Xiaoxiu, Xiaoxiu, come back soon, Grandma he called for a long time, but she didn't hear Xiaoxiu respond to her. Meixiu was having fun here. Fortunately, she had 5 senses and heard her grandma calling, Grandma, what are you doing? He said back to the foot of the mountain. Unfortunately, Grandma he had already entered the house and could not hear her. Boss Zhao, Xiaoxiu is in the vegetable field and may not have heard her. How about I take you to the vegetable field, Grandma he asked. Boss Zhao is here to talk about the food. This dish belongs to Xiaoxiu Zhong. She can't help her make the decision. She has to talk to Boss Zhao herself. Then I'll trouble Auntie, Boss Zhao said with a smile on his face. Okay, wait until I close the door, and I will take you there. Not only Boss Zhao came, but also his son. Qianziang and Grandma he were not very familiar with each other, so they laughed with her throughout the whole process. The two of them are the only ones here today, and no outsiders are here. It would be better if less people know about this. If it is as good as his father said, he will come to pull the goods himself or find someone he trusts. Anyway, if you can keep it a secret, keep it a secret. The road up the mountain is nothing to people in the countryside, but for Qianziang, this road caused him some hardship. Boss Zhao looked at his son who was sweating profusely and said with a look of disgust on his face, you just don't believe me if I ask you to exercise more on weekdays. Now you are out of breath after walking a few steps. You are no better than an old man like me. Hearing his own father's heart-wrenching words, Qianziang wanted to spit on him. If he had time to train, would he still need to say it? He. Grandma he didn't care about them that much, but she had to walk up the mountain. Soon he distanced himself from the two of them. As soon as Grandma he arrived at the vegetable field, she saw Xiaoxiu pulling weeds there. She immediately walked over and said, "Xiaoxiu, Xiaoxiu." Hearing Grandma's voice, Mei Shui turned around and said, "Grandma, why are you up here? What happened to calling me just now?" Grandma he was wearing a bamboo hat on her chest. The sun was not too bright. After walking to Mei Shui, Grandma he put the bamboo hat on her head. "Take it with you, the sun is out and it's very hot." Meixiu is not polite either. She had no intention of going down so early. The grass in the ground was growing a bit fast and she had to pull it out. "Thank you, Grandma. Boss Zhao is here." Grandma he immediately got down to business after seeing Mei Shui bringing her. "He brought his son here. I think he wants these dishes." After finishing speaking, Grandma he whispered in Mei Shui's ear, "I think we need to increase the price of this vegetable. The older people get, the more sophisticated they become. If their own food can make the father and son come here, it proves that their food is good." But that's right, since Xiaoxiu came, she also thinks that the taste of her own vegetables is better than what she grew herself. What Grandma he didn't know was that not only the dishes, but also the food at home had changed. She just ate them often and didn't pay much attention. Mei Shui was happy. "Okay, I will listen to Grandma." She liked her grandma's true temperament. No one knows what her own food is like better than her. It is normal to increase the price. This food is not only delicious, but also makes the people who eat it better. On this point, her sky-high price is not exaggerated. Fortunately, she adds very little, and it only works if you eat it regularly. There is no change after 1 or 2 meals. If today's technology were more advanced, Mei Shui would definitely not dare to do this, but who knows, it's the 1980s now. She can control it for several years. After she has a certain amount of capital, there is no need for her to use the spiritual spring water. Seeing that Xiaoxiu agreed, Grandma he was so happy. After a while, the Zhao family and his son climbed up. "And you are really experienced," Boss Zhao complimented. He was just held back by his son. "I'm old. If it had been before, I would have come up long ago," Grandma he said with a showy face. Boss Zhao really wants to say that when he was in the army. Forget it, a good man doesn't mention his bravery in the past. Not old, and he is still very old and strong. Uncle Zhao. Mei Shui opened her mouth and called out when she saw the person coming. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 80s, The Farmer's Wife is the Boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 94. Chapter 94, Help. Hey, Xiaoxiu is busy right now. Boss Zhao was a little excited when he saw the vegetable patch here. It's just that the number of samples is small. If they were complete, it would be great to have them all in Xiang's store. What a pity, what a pity. Well, pull the grass from the vegetable field. Mei Shui raised her hand. She still had a handful of grass in her hand. She took these tender grass back to feed the chickens at home. In the past, pigs were also eaten, but now that the pigs are sold, chickens are eaten. Qian Xiang finally came over and said, "Grandma your legs are really good." He was panting and sweating. When Boss Zhao saw his son coming, he immediately introduced him to Mei Shui. "Xiaoxiu, this is my eldest son, Qian Xiang. You can just call him Brother Qian. He is older than you." Boss Zhao did not regard himself as an outsider at all. Mei Shui glanced at Qian Xiang. He didn't look much like his father, but he had the same outline, straight eyes, and some business tact. But it doesn't matter, as long as the character is not bad. Brother Qian. Mei Shui curled her lips and called. Boss Zhao knew Mei Shui's temperament and saw that she didn't say much and didn't think much. "By the way, Xiaoxiu, is your food ready? When Mei Shui saw him asking about vegetables, she immediately led him towards water spinach and celery. They are the only ones that can be eaten now, the others may have to wait until the end of the month. When they saw water spinach and celery, they were all shocked. They look so good, they were so juicy. Well, I take good care of them, so they grow well. Mei Shui was not polite. The vegetables she grew were good and she could praise them. I want all these dishes, can I take them away today? Qian Xiang was excited. Meixia glanced at him and saw that he was eating water spinach leaves and celery leaves, and thought he was a bit silly. Does it taste good raw? Yes, but you have to wait a while, they haven't been picked yet, at least it's noon. Grandma, he looked at her vegetable patch. If Xiaoxiu was alone, she would have to work until noon at least. It's okay, Grandma will help you pick it together. Grandma, he said with a smile. Grandma, I can do it by myself. You can go back and make lunch. Uncle Zhao and the others rarely come here once, so they have to have lunch at home. Mei Shui was not willing to let her grandmother suffer this hardship. But how can you pick it all by yourself? Grandma, his eyes were darting, reminding Mei Shui of something. Mei Shui was happy when she saw her grandma like this. If Uncle Zhao helps me, I might be able to finish picking it before noon. Mei Shui immediately understood what her grandma meant. Seeing that Xiaoxiu understood what she meant, Grandma, he was very happy. Yes, Boss Zhao, how about you guys help here and I go back to cook for you? Turning around, Grandma, he said to the two Boss Zhaos. Boss Zhao only really understood today what it means to become more mature with age. Then I'll bother you, Auntie Xiang, and I will help Mei Shui pick vegetables together. Can you disagree? Qian Zi was so young that he didn't think much about it. He had never done this job before, but he wouldn't do it if he were to leave now. Well, you can just pick vegetables here, and I'll go back first. Grandma, he said happily when she saw the others agreed. Seeing that her grandma was about to leave, Mei Shui immediately pulled her up and said, Grandma, please bring some vegetables back later. There is no Qingkong at home. After saying that, Mei Shui knelt down, picked them and handed them to her grandma. I also picked some peppers and eggplants, but there aren't many left. Let's pick them up. Last time I picked a lot of chili peppers to make chili sauce. Grandma said the remaining ones would be used to dry them into dried chili peppers, so they have been growing here. Fortunately, it doesn't take up much space. Grandma, he went down the mountain with a few dishes. Meixia brought some dry straw from the ground and said, Uncle Zhao, let's pick it. Boss Zhao and Qian Xiang had never done such a job before. They followed Mei Shui and learned little by little. After they finally got comfortable with it, their movements became faster. Qian Xiang was just a little bit worse. He didn't say the vegetables he picked were good, and he also brought some old leaves in. Mei Shui couldn't stand it, so she asked him to bundle the vegetables aside. After being bundled, they were carried down the mountain in a basket. After picking the vegetables, they were put through water in a bucket so that they would not be exposed to the sun. It was not until noon when Grandma he came up to ask everyone to go down the mountain to eat that the three of them finished picking the water spinach and celery and tied them up. Put it here, I'll go up the mountain to pick it up later. After finishing the work, Mei Shui asked them to go down the mountain together. Let's go back and eat. Looking at the bundles of vegetables, Grandma he had a smile on her face and said, Thank you for your hard work, Boss Zhao. Let's go back and have a good meal. Grandma he made a lot of delicious food at noon today. There are fish, meat, and vegetables from their own fields. Boss Zhao hit his waist and stood up. I haven't been active for a long time, and this work is really too much. He looked at Mei Shui with admiration. It's good to be young. Qian Xiang is not doing well either. After squatting all afternoon, his legs are numb. It's okay. Just eat more in a while and rest before leaving. It's okay, Grandma, he answered. The four of them went down the mountain and returned home. Grandma he gave the two of them a new towel and asked them to wash their faces. The two of you are not polite. They are really tired and need to wash their faces and take a rest. People who have never done farm work are not used to this long pause and bending at first. Mixue was not in a hurry to wash her face. She found the basket and planned to go to the mountain to pick out the vegetables and put them there to dry for a while, but she was afraid that the vegetables would become wilted. Xiaoxiu still wants to go up the mountain, Boss Zhao asked after seeing Xiaoxiu's movements. Well, I have to pick out the vegetables. I'm afraid you won't be able to eat them after you take them back. She also had to add spiritual spring water to nourish them. Oh, okay, I'll go with you. Boss Zhao handed the towel to Qianziang and said. Mei Shui shook her head, no, just rest at home for a while. The food isn't heavy. The food wasn't much, about 60 or 70 pounds. She was still able to pick it out. Grandma he also knew that he had been tortured severely today, and she did not agree with him going up the mountain. Just get out of the way and sit down and rest. Xiaoxiu can do the picking alone. Hearing Auntie's words, Boss Zhao couldn't force it anymore. That's all right, thank you for your hard work Xiaoxiu. Mei Shui shook her head, it's okay, you paid me, but no, the boss who bought the vegetables went to pick the vegetables himself. I'm afraid it was the first time. Haha, it's okay. Boss Zhao waved his hand quickly, just experience life. After the food was served, Mei Shui didn't wait long before picking out all the vegetables. Mei Shui directly picked it up to the well behind the house, diluted some spiritual spring water and poured it on it. Finally, the vegetables were revived and they no longer looked so wilted. During lunch, Qianziang personally discussed the price of the dishes with Mei Shui. The price he gave was indeed higher than the price they would have sold at the market, but Qianziang also had conditions. In the future, their vegetables could only be sold to him. End of this chapter. 80s, The Farmer's Wife is the Boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 95. Chapter 95, Difficulty. Mei Shui had no objection to this and agreed immediately. However, they had to make the dish themselves. On this point, Mei Shui did not give in. It was unrealistic for her to send it to the county town, and she did not want to be so tired. The final price was negotiated, and after weighing the weight, Qianziang paid directly. They also agreed on a time to come again at the end of the month to bring food. There will be more dishes at the end of the month. Mei Shui is also thinking about planting some vegetables in winter, so she can't leave it empty without planting. After sending the Zhao father and son away, Grandma he began to count the money again. The money was not much, but it was also the result of her own hard work, so she could count it better. I can't find anyone else in the village who can buy vegetables at this price. Water spinach and celery were sold at the same price, 50 cents per caddy. This is almost catching up with the price of meat. How could I not make Grandma he happy and excited? Even though it is only a few dozen dollars, it is a substantial amount of money. Grandma, stop counting, it's only 40 yuan, you've already counted it several times. Mei Shui put away the bowl and chopsticks and said with a smile. Haha, no matter how many times you try, it's never too much. Xiaoxiu, you're really capable, you know. This dish can only be sold at the market for 15 cents at most. If it's too much, it's too expensive for others. When talking about the price, Grandma he's face was filled with pride. Our food is delicious, Mei Shui responded. 50 cents, forget it, as long as Grandma is happy. The people in the village learned that Auntie's boss had taken a fancy to her food, and even came to collect it in person. Everyone in the village started gossiping again. Some people are envious and plan to take the scriptures from Grandma he, while some people are dirty and say some nonsense. Fortunately, I said it behind my back. If I had to face it in person, I'm afraid it wouldn't be a two-person fight, but a two-person fight. Mei Shui and Grandma he didn't know these things. They were checking the gifts that Boss Zhao brought this time. To be honest, the things they brought were more than 40 yuan. It's really hard for them to order food like this. Fortunately, both parties are satisfied. On the way back, Qianziang looked excited. They had rented a carriage in the town when they came, and now they were returning with vegetables. Dad, if possible, I would like Mei Shui to grow more vegetables, preferably to round up the vegetables in our restaurant. He had eaten the food at lunch, and it was just as his father said, there was no deviation at all. Even if there is, it is better, tastes better, and the dishes are better. You can make up your own mind. Did you see today that there are a lot of chickens in the small yard? You said the food is so good, so the chickens. Boss Zhao only thinks that some people are suitable for breeding. Whether it is grown or raised, the taste is incomparable to others. He thinks Mei Shui is such a person. Yeah, why didn't I think of that? By the way, there's also their rice. Dad, do you think they can sell it? Business people are smart. Don't draw inferences from one case too easily. Haha, then you have to think about it, talk about it, and have a heart-to-heart relationship. You should also know how to seize the opportunity when it comes. Once you miss it, there may not be a second chance for you. I remember it, Dad, don't worry, I know how to do it, Qianziang said seriously. That's good, sincerity will last long, Boss Zhao said with emotion. Are you going? He Zhenjing's family, that is, the eldest grandmother's youngest son's family, Hianhua was pulled aside by his wife as soon as he came back from the mountain. He quickly asked if something had happened. Unexpectedly, his wife, who had not given him a good look for a long time, actually smiled and talked to him today. Also soft-spoken. But after he finished listening to what he said, he felt bad. No, you don't know what's going on at third grandma's house. Even if there is good business, I can't do anything that would allow third grandma to give me a share. Hianhua said reluctantly. It turns out that his daughter-in-law saw vegetables being sold at the third grandma's house at noon today, and the boss personally came to buy them. After asking, she learned that the vegetables cost 50 cents per caddy. This gave her an idea. Originally, she thought that if she went out to work, she could earn dozens of dollars a month, but she didn't expect that her husband's third wife could sell vegetables for dozens of dollars. How could this not make her envious and jealous? So, she thought about asking Hianhua to ask the third grandma if their vegetables could be sold to the boss together. Unexpectedly, Hianhua was so stubborn that he actually disagreed. If you can't do it, will we have to live longer? Chen Qingqing screamed. Hianhua's daughter-in-law is from Qinjiakan. She has been married for 2 years. She has not even mentioned the birth of her children. She usually hides away when she can. And Mia helps with the housework at home. She can be said to have the best life among the wives in the village. Even when farming was busy, her family did not force her to work in the fields, but she was still dissatisfied. Isn't this bad now? Our family's life is not worse than other people's families. Can you please stop thinking about things? Hianhua has been driven crazy by her recently. Every day I want to go out to work, but are jobs outside so easy to find? He chops wood with his father at home, and his monthly income is solid. He also eats and drinks at home, and they don't have to pay for it, so there's nothing to be dissatisfied about. It's not worse than others, huh? Then it depends on who you compare with. Look at my cousin and his family. They all work outside. Every time they come back, they have a lot of money. Their food and clothing are much better than us. Chen Qingqing, he roared at Hianhua, very dissatisfied. People have only been married for a short time, and they all wear gold and silver, but what about me? I have been with you for 2 years, and I haven't even seen what you look like, let alone gold. Hianhua's eyes turned red with anger when he heard her words. He couldn't give her a life of gold and silver. He knew what he was capable of, and he had no ability to earn back such a life. With no education and no skills, you can only do some hard work when you go out to work, which is not as good as what you earn at home. It's not like he hasn't understood this before. Let's talk about her cousins and the others. The things they did outside were very much talked about in Xinjiang. Is that what serious people do? Why Ching Ching just can't understand and can't figure it out. Ching Ching, please stop making trouble. Okay, now our monthly income of more than 10 or 20 yuan is no less than going out to work. If you like money, how about we go shopping in a few days? Hua tried his best to persuade his wife. But, would Chen Ching Ching appreciate it? No, I don't want it. Either you go talk to the third grandma about selling vegetables now, or you go out with me to work. Chen Ching Ching understood clearly that this man was a loser and useless. Ching Ching, do you have to be like this? Hua held his head in his hands, looking very decadent. He wanted to live a good life with her, but the way she looked now, it was obvious that she didn't want to live a good life. When I saw her sister-in-law calling her brother out, she knew that her sister-in-law was acting like a monster again. Unexpectedly, she was quite brave and dared to take advantage of the third grandma. End of this chapter. 80s, The Farmer's Wife is the Boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 96. Chapter 96, Business, please vote for recommendation. No one in the village knew about the misfortune of the third grandma. The milder ones were scolded, and the more serious ones were slapped directly by the third grandma. No one dared to say anything. She was also very angry when she saw her brother like this. 2 years after her sister-in-law came to the house, she never started talking about the work at home and still found fault with her from time to time. She could tolerate these things, but she forced her brother to do this, and her brother actually wanted to do it. Bear it, she can't bear it. Brother, if she wants to go, let her go by herself. If the third grandma doesn't beat her to death, everyone will have to pamper her and go out to work. Okay. And May walked over with an angry look on her face. If you want to go work, you can do it by yourself. Don't mess with my brother. We are an honest family and we can't deal with people with big intentions. And May is also 19 this year and has graduated from junior high school. Her vision is not what Chen Ching Ching can. Then, she sees things clearly, unlike Chen Ching Ching who only cares about immediate interests. If you think my temple is small, then you go back to your Chen family. This is what I wants to say most in the 2 years since Chen Ching Ching came here. Chen Ching Ching was a little guilty when she saw I, but after hearing her words, she became angry. I, this is between me and your brother. It's not good for a little girl like you to get involved. Besides, your brother it's my man, what's wrong with me asking him to do things? Looking matter-of-factly. I knew that what she said was right. This was a matter between the couple, but she was just angry that her sister-in-law always had to bear the burden of her brother for everything. You asking my brother to go find the third grandma is not a matter between you two. It is a big deal for the whole family. Do you really think that the third grandma is easy to bully? And May rolled her eyes at her. Looking at her brother, you'd better know something. Don't tell your parents, even grandma won't agree. After saying that, I glared at Chen Ching Ching. If you think my family is poor, then I will go back to your Chen family. After saying that, I turned around and walked back. She has to tell her parents about this matter. If her brother really goes to find the third grandma, she is afraid that the third grandma will not let them go easily. Damn girl, if you have the ability, you can tell me again. Chen Ching Ching was furious. After seeing the person walking away, she raised her hand to Hua, you coward, haven't you seen your sister bullying me? Are you mute? Hua endured it. Marrying a wife was not easy, and he couldn't make his parents sad. After Chen Ching Ching had finished playing, he sighed, go back, the sun is shining brightly outside. Seeing him like this, Chen Ching Ching laughed mockingly, coward. This kind of thing not only happened to Hua's family, but some jealous people also started to think about it. It's just not that violent. This has nothing to do with Grandma he and the others. The two of them are busy with their own affairs at home. Since wine could not be brewed, Mei Shui came up with the idea of growing sweet-scented osmanthus flowers in the courtyard. Grandma, these sweet-scented osmanthus flowers have fallen, let's shake them down, Mei Shui said thoughtfully while eating the cakes brought by Boss Zhao. What are you doing? What's the use of this thing? If it wasn't more fragrant, she wouldn't have planned to plant it here. I didn't expect to grow just one kind for so many years. Grandma, sweet-scented osmanthus can be used to make sweet-scented osmanthus cake. Is there a stone mill at home? I thought we could make some sweet-scented osmanthus cake ourselves. What you make at home is not necessarily worse than what is sold. Hey, this grandma can't do it. Xiaoxiu, can you? Grandma, he became interested. Mei Shui shook her head honestly, no, but after eating so many pastries, it won't be difficult to give it a try. She looked confident. Haha, it's okay, it happens to be fine, Grandma will do it with you. So, the two of them found something to do again. When Aunt Mei Lian came over to play, she saw the grandfather and grandson shaking Uncle Osman thus. She asked curiously, "Third aunt, Xiaoxiu, what are you doing?" Seeing the visitor, Grandma he smiled and said, "It's Mei Lian, come in quickly." Xiaoxiu said she wanted to learn how to make osmanthus cake. I'll help her shake some osmanthus. Aunt Mei Lian was happy when she heard about making pastries. I know how to do this. Come, let me help you. With Aunt Mei Lian joining in, Osmanthus quickly put things in order. Aunt Mei Lian, are you really good at this? Mei Shui didn't expect that Aunt Mei Lian would do this. Yes, I can not only make sweet-scented osmanthus cake, but also other cakes, but they are not as delicious as those sold on the street, Aunt Mei Lian said, a little embarrassed. Hey, it would be great if you can make it. It can compare with the ones in the store, Grandma, he said with a nonchalant expression. On the other hand, Mei Shui, who came later, was moved and said, Aunt Mei Lian, give it a try and I will learn from you. Learning is just an excuse. The relationship between her family and Aunt Mei Lian's family is pretty good, and she doesn't mind helping out when she can. It's done. Aunt Mei Lian looked happy. Osmanthus alone is not enough, you also need to soak some rice. Of course Mei Shui knew, but she did it on a whim and was not fully prepared. Rice is not the kind of rice you usually eat, but glutinous rice. After soaking, it is ground into powder before cooking. There are not many kinds of sweet-scented osmanthus cake, it is very simple. Today I will soak the rice and boil the osmanthus sugar for later use. There is still some sugar left over from the last brewing process, so it can be used just in time. While making sugar, Aunt Mei Lian told Mei Shui what to pay attention to. Mei Shui listened very carefully, and she memorized everything while Aunt Mei Lian was teaching her. This sweet-scented osmanthus cake is very simple to make and can be made by every household. However, saccharin is expensive, so most people are reluctant to add sugar. No, sugar is not cheap. Grandma he also joined the conversation. Fortunately, everyone's life is getting better now, and we can afford this candy. But who eats this rock candy now? They all eat fruit candy. I heard that there is also a milk candy with a milky flavor, Aunt Mei Lian said with a yearning look on her face. There are also milk candies. Can you eat candies with milk? Grandma he has never eaten them, nor has she paid any attention to them. Mei Shui saw that Grandma was interested and smiled. Grandma, do you want to eat it? If Grandma likes it, she will buy some next time. The last time I saw it, it was the little white rabbit toffee. I think, Grandma hasn't eaten it yet. Grandma he now has money in her hand and is not worried. Then I'll buy it for you when you go to the big market. Well, I'll listen to Xiaoxiu. Aunt Mei Lian did not leave the He family until the osmanthus sugar was boiled. After they left, Grandma he said thoughtfully, Xiaoxiu, what do you think? Xiaoxiu said before that she knew how to do it, but she had never done it, but now she clearly let Mei Lian show off, and she looked like she was eager to learn. I think Xiaoxiu has an idea. Aunt Mei Lian is a nice person, please help me if you can, Mei Shui said with a smile. She knew that Grandma knew her best. But after you help Mei Lian, what will happen to the other people, Grandma? He frowned, feeling a little embarrassed. What else can we do? If it really works, let them come together. Besides, the same sweet-scented Osman thus cake won't last long. That's right, Mei Shui thought that there was no work in the fields now, so that Aunt Milian and the others could make some money when they were free. I recently recommended it on the internet. Please vote quickly, otherwise updates will be stopped. Come on and vote, thank you. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 80s, The Farmer's Wife is the Boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 97. Chapter 97, Fighting. Your good intentions are true, but Grandma still hopes that you will not let yourself suffer. In her heart, Xiaoxiu is the most important. The current situation of their family is a complete contrast to that before. Grandma he has counted a lot of big money, and she doesn't pay much attention to these small coins. Mainly she believes that Xiaoxiu can do better. Don't worry, I won't do it. I'm just giving you an opinion. How to do it depends on whether they have the courage. It's okay to give them a little help, but it's impossible to keep holding them. She is not their parents. It's good that you understand. The next day, Aunt Mei Lian came over early and helped Mei Shui push the stone mill to grind out the glutinous rice flour. Aunt Zillian also ran over after receiving the letter. Suddenly, the He family courtyard became lively again. The Osman thus cake will be ready today, and Mei Shui is starting to look forward to it. After all, this is her first time making it. Before noon, everyone steamed the sweet-scented Osman thus cake in a pot and then went home to make lunch. After all, there were still people at home who wanted to come back for lunch. Grandma, I'm going to go to the fields in the afternoon. The fields were wet last time and I haven't seen them yet. I plan to catch some eels and bring them back to the market tomorrow. Mei Shui added a handful of firewood to the pot and said to her grandma. Grandma he knew that Xiaoxiu was restless, so she let her go. Okay, remember to bring a bamboo hat so it doesn't get damaged by the sun. I know. Lunch was very simple. With one person missing from the family, the two resumed their previous lives. Without even taking a nap, Mei Shui went directly to the fields, and the sweet-scented Osman thus cake in guli also took shape. She tried it and it tasted pretty good. If she came up with some more novel ideas, she might really be able to sell it on the street. Walking on the path to the fields, Mei Shui was in a good mood. Compared with Mei Shui's good mood, he and Hua's family was in trouble. Grandma's heart almost ached when she saw her grandson quarreling with his grandson's wife. Stop arguing, stop fighting. Grandma was being supported by Anmei, who was afraid that they would hit her. She can see all the virtues of her sister-in-law, and she doesn't regard her family members as human beings at all. Grandma, don't cry. Let them go. The one who wins is the bigger one. He Anmei has a straight temper. She is not tall and has an unstoppable attitude. He Zhengjing and his daughter-in-law also watched the two of them quarreling. He Zhengjing could not tolerate his daughter-in-law to the end. Now it depends on what the son thinks. No matter how poor the family is, money can still be saved to give the son another wife. There was a big fight here, and soon Aunt Ting on the mountain got the message, and she hurried down the mountain without even having to eat. Aunt Mei Lian happened to be eating in her courtyard. When she saw her sister-in-law running down the hill, she immediately stood up and said, "Sister-in-law, why are you running in such a hurry?" Aunt Ting ran in a hurry. When she heard Mei Lian calling her, she immediately replied, "Anhua and his wife are fighting. I have to go and take a look." "Then go quickly." Aunt Milian became anxious after hearing this. "Be careful and watch the road." "Hey, I got it, I'll go down first. After receiving the news, Aunt Milian immediately started gossiping. What do you think these two couples have to argue about? She turned to look at her man. He Genke didn't talk much. When his wife asked, he glanced at her and said, talk less and watch more. If you like to watch the excitement, just watch. Are you that kind of person like me? Let me tell you, Anwar's wife is not someone who is going through life at first glance. I heard that Anwar was asked to go out to work. Working outside is not as easy as she thought. Look at Anwen, what a good job, but he sold it in the end. He Genke curled his lips and said with disdain. They are from rural areas, and it is extremely difficult for them to work in cities. Even if you get a job, you need someone who knows how to specialize, otherwise it won't last long. Hey, no, it's really a pity for Anwen. Fortunately, he met Xiaoxiu, otherwise the life of this family would not be easy. They are all brothers, so why not worry about him? Okay, eat quickly. Didn't you say that third aunt's house still steams sweet-scented Osman thus cakes? I haven't eaten your cakes for a long time. He Genke sipped the saliva from his mouth. Okay, I'll bring you some later. Third aunt is not a stingy person. Then don't take too much. Third aunt asked me to make it. Xiaoxiu must want to eat it. You have to save some for Xiaoxiu. No, no. When Aunt Ting ran to He Zhenjing's house, she saw Chen Qingqing sitting in the yard crying. She could hear the sound even if she didn't get down. Damn man, you actually hit me, He Anhua, I'm not done with you, I can't live this life. Chen Qingqing might have been touched by He Anhua, her hair was messy, and she was sitting on the ground like a shrew. There was not a single piece of flesh on He Anhua's face, and blood was bleeding from the corners of his eyes. He looked very scary. Aunt Ting was immediately frightened when she saw Anhua like this. Anhua, what's wrong with you? Are you seriously injured? After all, he is her man's nephew, and she must be worried when she sees him in such a miserable state. He Anhua saw Auntie coming and shook his head. Auntie, I'm fine. It's okay, so you're beaten to death, right? The grandma glared at Chen Qingqing on the ground with anger. Whose daughter-in-law is like you and beats her own man like this? Aunt Ting took a closer look and saw that her eyes were indeed not hurt, but the skin on the side was hurt, and she felt relieved. She looked at her siblings. What's going on? Aunt Cai's eyes were red from crying. She asked Anhua to talk to the third aunt about selling vegetables. Anhua didn't agree and didn't know what they said, so they started fighting. Hearing that the third aunt was involved, Aunt Ting curled her lips. Is it so easy to take advantage of the third aunt? I really don't know whether to live or die. You dare to worry about third aunt selling vegetables? I really don't know how to live or die. How can I be third aunt a kind person? Aunt Ting was also angry. Qingqing got up first. It doesn't look good sitting on the ground as the person who broke up the fight. She had better comfort the person first. It's a pity that Chen Qingqing didn't know how to know. Go away, you He family bullies others. I will not live anymore. After saying that, he burst into tears, and while crying, he shouted that the He family wanted to beat his daughter-in-law to death. There were already many households by the creek, and soon people gathered around them. After seeing Anwar's appearance, the relatives came forward to care about him one by one, and some wanted to help the person on the ground up. It's a pity that Chen Qingqing pushed them away. Anwar, the couple was fighting in the house. Why was it so big? Nothing major happened in the village, and everyone looked at a peep show when they saw such a scene. That's right, it's not good to hit your wife. I didn't realize it. I'm usually quite honest, but he actually beats his wife. It's so difficult to get a wife now, and he still dares to do it. Some people who gossip are not afraid of getting into trouble, and they speak mercilessly. Everyone must remember to vote. Thank you all. End of this chapter. 80s, The Farmer's Wife is the Boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 98. Chapter 98, Marrying a Wife and Marrying a Virtuous Man. It's also funny. It didn't happen to me, and everyone watched it with great enthusiasm. Shut up, didn't you see that my Anhua's face was covered with injuries? Who hit whom? Are you all blind? Grandma is not someone to be bullied. I know how to talk nonsense all day long, and I am not afraid of retribution. Don't go out on rainy days, be careful of thunder and lightning. If you are blind, go back and wash your eyes. Don't act blindly here. You are not afraid of killing two people, right? Grandma was panting heavily after scolding her. After all, she was getting older and couldn't compare with when she was young. There are only about 10 families in the whole 5 groups, and the He family is a big family. Except for their own relatives, the remaining families are all descended from the same ancestor, but none of them can see others well. Auntie, what you said is that even if there is thunder and lightning, can it still hit us? If we don't steal or rob, why don't we just say a few words? Do you care? We are right, a woman can be so strong, even if she hits her twice, it won't matter, but she can't compare to a man. If he hits her with just one fist, half of his life will be lost. Ching ching, if you can run, run away. If you can, run back to your parents. Don't you still have 2 brothers at home? Everyone is really not afraid of trouble. Aunt Ting couldn't stand hearing it anymore. She didn't like to argue with others, but that didn't mean she could be bullied. However, before she could say anything, Aunt Cai couldn't help but said, the harm of killing 1,000 swords is that it doesn't look good to other people's families, and its mouth smells like shit. Which of you saw Anhua and beat her? Ah, who saw it? Being a mother makes you strong. I'll put it here now: if anyone dares to act blindly, if anything happens to my family, I will find him. At worst, we will die together. And Cai's eyes shone with fierceness. The people around him were so frightened that they took several steps back. Perhaps seeing her mother-in-law overwhelmed her, and Chen Qingqing's crying became much quieter. Some peacemakers began to persuade her and asked her what the quarrel was about. Chen Qingqing is a person who can't carry things clearly, so she feels that what she said is right. She just wants her third grandma to help sell vegetables at 50 cents per caddy. At such a high price, she is still her own grandnephew. After hearing what she said, many people took a step back automatically. They may have had this idea in their hearts, but they did not have the courage to rush to pluck the third aunt's hair. Ching ching, Anhua can't make the decision in this matter. We can discuss it if there is anything. It's not a big deal if you make trouble like this. His family members began to persuade him. That is, if you have this idea, you can go and ask your third grandma in person, just in case your third grandma agrees. 50 cents a pound, they are envious. They all want such a good thing to happen to them, but they also know that their boss may not like them. They have seen all the vegetables on the carriage, and their freshness is much stronger than their handles. Yeah, if you have something to say, talk it over. Arguing won't solve the problem, right? Aunt Ting also stood up. You have only been married for 2 years, so you may not understand your third grandma's temperament. She is easy to talk to. If you have something to discuss with her, you might be able to agree. But if you make such a fuss, do you think your third grandma is a good person? Will you agree? Grandma he also heard the noise at the bottom of the mountain, so she packed up and walked out. After asking, I found out that it was he Anhua and his wife who were quarreling. She was so happy that after eating and drinking, she almost started gossiping. So Grandma he walked down the mountain slowly. As soon as she got close, she heard this man thinking about selling vegetables at home, which made her angry. Bah, shameless thing, why should I share my things with you? Are you inlaid with gold or silver? Don't take yourself too seriously. Grandma he interrupted the Zhengting family. I'm here to take a look. I don't agree with you, old lady. What can you do to him, he Anhua? If you can, kill him. If you don't dare, just kill him. I'll put away your shrewishness. You really think that my he family has no one left? no. Grandma, he scolded everyone and asked everyone to give up their positions to her. Seeing her, everyone called her third aunt with a smile. Humph, I don't care if you have the destiny to wear gold and silver, just think of yourself as a princess. Grandma, he glanced at Anhua and said, you're a worthless coward. You don't dare to resist even if your wife suppresses you like this. You're a good person. After saying that, Grandma, he slapped Anhua on the back, making a banging sound, which was painful to hear. And May came over and said, third grandma, please stop hitting my brother. He is injured. Seeing this little girl, Grandma, he rolled her eyes at her. Huh, you deserve it? You dare to worry about my things, old lady, no way. When I was a widow and lost my son and daughter-in-law, who of you helped me again, so, my advantage is not so easy to take advantage of. It's no wonder that Grandma, he was stingy. I think back then, she was raising Ans alone, and she didn't even have money to pay for medical treatment when she got sick. Forget it, no one in the whole village was willing to give her a lift, haha. Now that her family is rich, she wants to take advantage of her, dreaming. Everyone fell silent after hearing what Grandma, he said. Everyone knew how sad those days were. Who has the ability to help? Well, Feng Shui is changing, and this year Feng Shui is at Grandma He's house, and they can't do anything about it. After Chen Qingqing was scolded by a group of people, she got up from the ground and rushed into her room. After seeing that there was no more fun to watch, everyone left. The ones left behind are all members of their own family. The eldest grandma looked at the three younger siblings. Some of the words were also meant for her. How could she not know? Forget it. Children and grandchildren will have their own blessings, but she can't help. Zhengjing, marrying a virtuous wife is a lifelong matter. Don't ruin Anhua's life just to save money. It's not worth it. After saying this, Grandma, he walked out of the yard of He Zhengjing's house, hands behind her back. When Aunt Ting saw that third aunt was leaving, she followed her and sent the others away. Go back, let them make their own decisions about household matters. Aunt Ting was actually a little embarrassed when she caught up with her third aunt. The situation at third aunt's house was not that bad when she came in, but later. But at that time, she had not separated the family, and she was not able to help if she wanted to. Seeing the daughter-in-law in the main court following behind her, Grandma He's lips curled up. Tell me, people don't have long memories. Don't think she doesn't know, the sister-in-law must have something in mind. She has been able to suppress Zhengjing until now. I'm afraid she just wants Chen Qingqing to cause trouble. What do you mean it might not happen? I have to say, people's hearts are really hard to guess. A few days ago, we were giving away grapes, but what about now? How many days have it been? When they came back, Mei Lian and the others happened to come out of the house. When they saw the third aunt coming back, they immediately surrounded her. Third aunt, are you coming back soon? They asked with a smile. End of this chapter. 80s, The Farmer's Wife is the Boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 99. Chapter 99, Not Involved in. Everyone knows that the third aunt loves to join in the fun and will stay there for a whole day. Unexpectedly, she would come back so soon. Why don't you come back and wait to be skinned? Grandma, he rolled her eyes at the two of them. Then he walked directly back home. Seeing that the third aunt was in a bad mood, the two of them stopped and looked at the elder sister-in-law. Sister-in-law, what are you doing? Aunt Ting did not hide anything from them and told the story about He Anhua's wife. After hearing this, the two of them were speechless. Isn't this too natural? Aunt Mei Lian said angrily, isn't it wrong for third aunt not to help? If it were her, she wouldn't help. What did everyone say when her eldest son died? There is no bad parent in the world, but she herself failed to take good care of her son, haha. Aunt Zillian had a better temperament, and after listening, She didn't say much. She pulled Milian and said, "Let's go, there are still some unfinished things at the third aunt's house." She only knew that the third aunt was alienated from the big house intentionally or unintentionally. They were all new wives who had just entered the family, so how could they know so much about what happened back then? After so many years, let the third aunt make her own decision. Aunt Ting came in early. At that time, she knew many things. It was normal for the third aunt to remember and hate them. She sighed and walked home. To her, this matter is not important anymore. What is in the past is in the past, and people cannot be resurrected after death. I just didn't expect that Anhua's wife would pick up this matter again. At Grandma He's house, the three of them were eating sweet-scented osmanthus cake. Not bad, it tastes better than what I made before. After taking a bite, Aunt Mei Lian immediately praised it. Aunt Zillian has never eaten it, but she also knows that it is good food, delicious. Grandma He looked at the two of them with a smile. "Do you think it tastes good?" "It's delicious." The two of them nodded together. "If this osmanthus was sold in the store, would you buy it?" Grandma He put down the osmanthus cake in her hand and asked. It was a bit inconvenient for Xiaoxiu to say this. After all, she was a junior, which would make the other families uncomfortable. Let her be the bad guy. "Of course I'll buy it, but you have to be rich." Aunt Zillian finished the last bite and said with a smile. Aunt Mei Lian was smart, and she understood different meanings from third aunt's words. "Third aunt, do you want to sell this sweet-scented osmanthus?" Grandma He nodded, but then shook her head. "It's not me, but you." Xiaoxiu made this sweet-scented osmanthus cake out of greed, but after seeing your craftsmanship, she had this idea. You also know that she has just entered the door and does not understand many things. It is not good for her to open this door, so I ask you, do you want to start this business? Now that the country allows business, there are more and more people setting up stalls on the streets. It's really the same as before, and everyone's living standards are much better than before. It is not difficult to buy 1 or 2 pieces of these pastries. The two of them were surprised. "Yes, it's you." Aunt Zillian shook her head quickly, "But I don't know how to do it." "If we really want to do business, let Xiaoxiu and Milian do it." "I won't be involved." How could she not think about it if there was a good way out? But she knew her abilities better. First, she couldn't do it, and second, she couldn't think of such a good idea. Hearing 11 Lian's words, Grandma He agreed very much and was even more happy. Only when there is no fighting or grabbing can the relationship between brothers last long. Don't think too much. Xiaoxiu will not get involved. Her mind is not on this. And if Mei Lian is alone, how much can she do? Grandma He said clearly. Aunt Mei Lian is not the kind of person who can't seize opportunities. Third aunt, are you and Xiaoxiu not involved? She still felt a little unsure. Well, I won't participate, but I will let Xiaoxiu give you some suggestions. Grandma He nodded. Upon hearing this, Aunt Milian was happy. The relationship is good. I will do this business. After saying that, she looked at Zillian, sister-in-law. The third aunt is right. No one in the family is free, only me. How much can one person do? So let's do it together. Aunt Zillian shook her head quickly, but I don't know anything. It's not difficult, you can learn it once you teach it. Besides, if you don't know how to mix it, you don't know how to grind it. Aunt Mei Lian waved her hand and said with a smile on her face. It's just that you helped her out, and she took the blame, and you didn't take advantage of her. Grandma He was very happy for them when she saw that they recognized her so clearly. With the two people's persuasion, Aunt Zillian finally nodded and agreed. The matter of selling sweet-scented osmanthus cake has been settled. Mei Shui hasn't come back yet, but Grandma He is a person of action, so she immediately asked the two of them to pick osmanthus flowers, and also told them how to pick those osmanthus flowers. After making up their minds, the two of them took a few pieces of osmanthus cake and left Grandma He's house. They went directly back to tell their men about the matter and that they had to go pick Osmanthus flowers. There are many things to do, such as grinding glutinous rice, which are available at home. You don't need to go out to buy them, and you can save a lot of money. Then there is sugar. I can buy this at the market tomorrow. Mei Shui didn't know that her grandma had already arranged everything for her. She was catching loaches and eels in her field. She didn't want to catch the fish on Chaotian Mountain. Even if she wanted to go, she would have to wait until An Liang and the others came back from vacation. Fortunately, she was the only one here today, bringing 2 buckets with her. There were a lot of eels and loaches in her several acres of land. The 2 buckets couldn't fit in them, and there wasn't enough space to put them in. The animals would die if they were put in there. Those that are dead cannot be sold for a good price. Mei Shui can only catch the full amount first, send it home first, and then come back again so that she can sell it for more money tomorrow. After the first trip back, Mei Shui put it in a big wooden barrel next to the well to keep it, and then ran out again. Even the sweet-scented Osmanthus cake was not rushed enough to take a bite. Before dinner, Mei Shui finally came back. Why so many? Seeing the 2 big buckets in Xiaoxiu's hand, Grandma he immediately came around and asked. Well, our fields are fertile, so we caught a lot. We have a big gathering tomorrow, so we can sell them. Mei Shui smiled with a smile on her face, very satisfied with her results. When we can sell it for a lot of money, we have enough money to catch the piglets tomorrow. But An Cheng has gone to school. I have to tell your Uncle Jiannan later and ask him to wait for us tomorrow. Grandma he teased the piglets with her hands. Said a handful of eels in the water. Yes, Grandma, I would have forgotten if you didn't tell me. An Cheng has gone to school, and it will be inconvenient to make a carriage in the future, Mei Shui said with an annoyed look on her face. Grandma he was happy. What are you thinking about? Without An Cheng, your Uncle Jiannan is still driving the carriage at home. Even if there is no carriage in the village, there is still a tractor in the brigade, so we are not afraid of being unable to get out of the village. Meixiu has only seen old antiques like tractors in books, but she has never made one herself. Is there a tractor in the village? Yes, it was bought by King Gli's family in the brigade during the property distribution. Grandma he knew a lot about the affairs in the village. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 80s, The Farmer's Wife is the Boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 100. Chapter 100, Buying a Piglet. Please vote for recommendation. That's it, let's do it. Grandma, please go and tell Uncle Jiannan later we'll be Uncle Jiannan's carriage tomorrow. Seeing that Xiaoxiu likes tractors so much, Grandma he thought she would do it tomorrow. Unexpectedly, she chose to make a carriage in Jiannan. Okay, I'll be there in a minute. At dinner, Grandma he told Mei Shui what happened to he and Hua's family today, and also told her about letting Mei Lian and the others do their own business. After hearing this, Mei Shui didn't take it to heart at all. She was just a little worried when she saw her grandma looking bad. Grandma, if you're unhappy, just leave it alone. She was afraid that her grandma would wrong her. I didn't want to care about it. I just went down to listen to the gossip. I didn't expect that they were interested in you, so I said those words. Let it go. She doesn't want to mention the past things, it hurts when she mentions them. Ans is already so old, what else is there to talk about? Just keep your own sense of proportion. She is not a saint. How kind-hearted she is to those who refuse to save her. Well, Meixiu didn't know what was bothering her grandma, but she didn't want to tell her, so she didn't ask any more questions. When the man came back, she asked him the same thing. After dinner, Grandma he went to He Jiannan's house. His house was directly opposite Mei Shui's house, but one was at the bottom of the mountain and the other was halfway up the mountain. After adding some spiritual spring water to the eels, Mei Shui stopped caring about them and boiled the water to take a bath first so that she could go to bed early when grandma came back. Compared to the tranquility of Mei Shui's family, He Jiankei's and He Jianxi's families are not so peaceful. "Mom, does sister-in-law know about this?" and Wen asked worriedly. Aunt Zillian nodded and then shook her head and said, "Third aunt said this was Zioxiu's idea, but when we talked about it at noon, Zioxiu was not at home. She still told her son the truth." And Wen thought for a while, since it was the third grandma who spoke, then the sister-in-law must really have this idea. Everyone knows the temper of the third grandma, so don't expect to get any benefit from her words. "Well, let's do it. Since my sister-in-law thinks she can do this business, she will definitely make money. Who would think less money is enough if he can earn more?" "Where are you, Jianxi?" Seeing that her son agreed, Aunt Zillian looked at He Jianxi with a smile and asked. He Jianxi was drinking a small drink and felt sad when he saw that his wife had not shown such a happy smile for several years. "You can make the decision in matters at home, I don't have any objections." "That's it. With the support of her man, she has nothing to fear. I will start this pastry business with Mei Lian." After saying that, Aunt Zillian looked at her son and said, "And when, you earned all the money in the family now, and mom won't take advantage of you. How about this, you lend mom 10 yuan as your capital, and if you earn mom if you lose, don't be angry with your mother." Wen was happy. "Mom, don't make trouble. Dad is right. You can make your own decisions about family matters." "Then it's settled, I'll borrow the money." Aunt Mei Lian's side was even simpler. When He Jiankei heard that his wife was going to sell Osman Thus cakes, he was totally willing. He has told his wife about this a long time ago. Her pastries are so delicious and she can make several kinds. In the past, she could not do business and had no choice. But things are different now. Children can all go to college, and doing business is no problem. "Go, you can do whatever you want, but you have to make sure I have food to eat when I come back from work." Every day he had to chop wood, and this was still the main source of his family's income. "Sure, I won't make you hungry. After making the decision, I have to go to the street to buy sugar tomorrow and prepare some things for business. I have to go to the carpenter's house to make a few steamers and come back. Oh, by the way, Ans should go. In a few days, it will be the day to pay the food. Ask the third aunt if she wants us to take her with her." He Jiankei suddenly thought of something and said, "Yes, it's time to pay for food again. Cheng tomorrow happens to be the third aunt going to the market together. I'll ask her then." Aunt Mei even ate an extra bowl of rice. "Then don't forget it," He Jiankei asked again worriedly. "Don't worry, I won't forget it." The next day, Mei Shui and Grandma He both got up early, ate breakfast and headed down the mountain. Because of what was agreed upon yesterday, He Jiannan's carriage was occupied by 4 people, Grandma He Mei Shui and Aunt Zillian Milian, mainly because they had to buy a lot of things today. "If you sit on it again, you won't be able to put anything in it. Meixiu plans to catch 2 piglets today. If she encounters a chicken seller, she plans to catch dozens more." Getting in the car, Mei Shui put the 2 large wooden barrels at the front so that they could have a place to lean on and prevent the water from spilling out. "Uncle Jiannan, Aunt Lanhua." "Hey," the 2 responded. After everyone gathered, the carriage started to set off. Today, Aunt Lanhua also went to the market, mainly to give things to her children. The school had just started, and many things were not sorted out, so she was worried. There are not many things to sell today, just some eels and loaches. After Aunt Zillian and the others got off the car, Mei Shui asked Uncle Jiannan to drive to the fish market. "This stuff sells fast here." This time when Mei Shui came over, she met Boss Mi again at the gate. As soon as he saw Mei Shui, his eyes lit up and he ran over quickly. "Isn't this girl Mei Shui? What good things are there today?" Before Mei Shui's carriage even got off, she was blocked by Boss Mi. She pointed to the bucket on the carriage and said, What else could it be? Eels and loaches. Boss Me also took a look inside and saw that the eels and loaches in the bucket had the same spirit. Hey, these are great things, girl Mei Shui, why don't you sell them all to me? Boss Me's business has been very good recently, and these living things are hard to come by. Either the quantity is small and the supply is not enough for a restaurant. Oh, okay, take it if you want it. Price. Mei Shui is not afraid that Boss Me can't afford the price. Old price, but I have to ask you to deliver it to the store for me today. I also bought a lot of goods here, and you happen to have a carriage here. Boss Me didn't know what politeness meant. Just pick up your belongings and put them in the car. Then he got into the carriage. He Jiannan glanced at Mei Shui, and when she nodded, he asked aloud, "Where are you going, boss?" Boss Me gave the address of his hotel. Selling the goods went more smoothly than Grandma he imagined. After getting the money, she immediately started counting, regardless of whether she was outside or not. Boss Me is a good person, so he also gave He Jiannan $1 as a thank you fee. Mei Shui asked Uncle Jiannan to take it. $1 was a lot. After returning to the market, Mei Shui and Grandma he quickly went to the place where the piglets were sold, otherwise others would buy the leftovers later. Hurry up and vote. Thank you to all the little babies who voted. I love you. End of this chapter. 80s, The Farmer's Wife is the Boss. Author, Village Girl in City. Chapter 101. Chapter 101, over 100, let's celebrate by voting. Little Pig Migxu doesn't know how to buy it, so she listens to her grandma on everything. After choosing the piglets, Mei Shui also took a fancy to a family's chickens. However, his family only had about 20 chickens, so Mei Shui bought them all for 10 cents each. This price is much higher than Grandma Jinghua's chicks. To this end, after Mei Shui and Grandma he put the piglets and chickens on the carriage, she took her grandma to buy 2 cans, intending to use them to thank Grandma Jinghua. There was also the toffee that Grandma was thinking about. She also bought 2 kilograms so that Grandma could eat as much as she could. But she has to brush her teeth frequently, otherwise the toothache will be bad. They finally bought everything, and the time was slowly approaching noon. The two of them were not the kind of people who would wrong themselves, so they immediately found a restaurant and had lunch. When I left, I also bought 10 steamed buns and meat buns, planning to eat them after returning home and use them to pad He Jiannan's belly. Don't even think about the others. Grandma He's exact words are that she doesn't owe them anything. Giving them is a matter of affection, and not giving them is a duty. Migxu listens to her grandma in everything she does externally. She does whatever she says, and it has little to do with her anyway. By the time Aunt Milian and the others came back from shopping, it was already 2 in the afternoon. Mei Shui looked at her watch and unconsciously thought of that man. A different emotion arose in my heart. But the carriage started moving, and she regained her focus. When she was about to leave the market, Mei Shui thought of her jar. When I saw someone selling on the roadside, I immediately stopped the carriage. After buying 5 or 6 more jars weighing about 20 kilograms, He Jiannan drove the carriage back home. Because there were a lot of things, He Jiannan helped Mei Shui and Grandma He carry all the things up the mountain after returning to the village. Grandma He gave 50 cents to He Jiannan. After helping her family so much, giving an extra 10 cents was not a big deal. Third aunt, you are an outsider. We are all members of our own family. I would be embarrassed to accept your money. Now that An Cheng has gained so much from following Xiaoxiu, I cannot accept this money. He Jiannan immediately declined. Grandma He rolled her eyes at him and said, 1 yard, 1 yard, just take it. Why is there so much nonsense? There are things at home, so take the money and leave quickly. The tone was not very good, but the power of the words could be heard. He Jiannan had no choice but to accept it. When he was about to find a dime, Grandma He directly closed the courtyard door of her home. He also muttered, "It's so annoying, I'm not good at all. It seems that at such an old age, I am still treated as a child by my third aunt. It's really. Third aunt, I will go back first. If you need anything, you can call me. I can hear you." The old lady felt very comfortable after hearing this, but she ignored him and walked quickly to the back room. The little pig had just settled down, and she didn't know if Xiaoxia could handle it. In this way, after Mei Shui bought all the things that needed to be purchased at home, she took care of her vegetable plot, chickens, and 2 piglets every day. The life I lived in my childhood was called a happy life. Compared to her carefree life, Hian's place was not that good. As soon as he returned to the county town, he wanted to go to Boss Joe to resign. He hesitated until he got out of the car and did not dare to resign. "Why don't you dare?" "Just because he is afraid that his wife will dislike him and he is even more incompetent." Alas, thinking about it too much brings tears to his eyes. After receiving the mission, he left Chenxin County with his convoy. At night, he missed his wife even more. In the past, he had never had a wife who was so hot that he could get used to it. But after eating meat for so long, he suddenly became taboo, which made him very uncomfortable. September and October are the most comfortable days after the beginning of autumn. Mei Shui took care of her babies all day long, and Tianl's face almost blossomed every day. That day happened to be Saturday, and the school was on holiday. As soon as An Liang came back, he came to find his sister-in-law and asked him if he wanted to go up the mountain together. "With my sister-in-law, I have meat to eat. The game on the mountain is the same as what my sister-in-law raises at home. Of course, An Liang can accept it except for snakes. It's time for you to come back and help me with my daily work." After buying the seal jar, it was time for her wine to be put into action. "Sister-in-law, tell me what kind of work you want to do, and I'll go there right away." And Liang's mouth was sweet. Meixia glanced at him and said, "Hey, go to the mountain and pick wild grapes for me." "Can you do this? You know, those wild grapes all grow among the thorny vines, entwined with each other. Generally, it doesn't matter if you pick some and eat them, just look for those that are easy to pick." But she planned to use it to make wine, and there was a lot of demand, so they had no choice. Now that the sun is not as scorching as before, it is a good time to go up the mountain. As soon as he heard about picking mountain grapes, An Liang's face turned bitter. "Sister-in-law, if you want to eat them, I'll pick them for you right away, but you don't have to pick them all day. It's so boring to do this job for a day. He has to go to school tomorrow. Can't eat meat anymore. I'll use it, and I'll give you the right words to do it or not." Mei Shui didn't have time to argue with him. She finally managed to comfort the piglets and chickens at home, which was a good opportunity for her to pick grapes. Had it not been for the fear of death, she wouldn't have stayed at home for so long. "Go." Before An Liang could reply, Anshan and Anshan stood up and shouted, "It's just picking mountain grapes, what a big deal." An Wen also looked at them with a smile. He was not free today and had to go to town with his mother later. An Wen's face burned when he thought of what he was going to do. "Brother An Wen, why are you blushing?" An Liang asked. An Wen was startled and immediately touched his face. "What nonsense are you talking about? There's no red at all." But he had to call his sister-in-law and say, "Sister-in-law, I won't go today. My mother has something to do in town today." Mei Shui knew what An Wen was going to do. Grandma told her last night. Plus, Aunt Zillian had been making sweet-scented osmanthus cakes recently and always went to her house. There was nothing she didn't know. "Well, go ahead and bring back a good wife," Mei Shui said with a smile. "This is really a happy thing. Aunt Zillian is determined to get her son married before the Chinese New Year, and she must take action now. The conditions at home are slowly improving, and she cannot let An Wen delay any longer." "Ah, brother An Wen, are you going on a blind date today?" Anshan and others were surprised. "Where are you from? Are you good looking? Is there any sister-in-law who can do it? The last sentence was said by An Liang. As soon as An Liang finished speaking, Mei Shui rewarded him with a stick. It seems your mother is right, you really deserve a beating. Seeing his sister-in-law raise the stick, An Liang was frightened and said, Sister-in-law, I was wrong. I was wrong. No one can do it as well as my sister-in-law. It turns out that An Liang's jokes immediately alleviated An Wen's shyness. Sister-in-law, I will go back first. If you have any work, let the three of them do it. If it is not enough, I will pick it for you when I come back. An Wen stood up and said to several people. Meixiu didn't leave him alone, Goshi couldn't delay An Wen's important events. End of this chapter.